Yep.
Good evening and welcome to the January 7th, 2026 San Bruno Community Foundation regular meeting. Thank you to everyone for attending tonight's meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors. Sorry we're late with a couple of computer glitches, but we're on track now. We're in person at the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center, and we welcome members of the public who are attending via Zoom. We appreciate your patience if we have any technical hiccups. We ask speakers to speak loudly and clearly so that the OWL camera can pick you up, and that our online guests, as well as everyone in the room, can hear you well. A couple of technical items before we get to the content of tonight's meeting. Please know that we want to hear from you, members of the public who are here at the Aquatic Center in person. If you'd like to speak during public comment for items within the jurisdiction of the board that are not on the agenda or on any of our agendized items, please fill out one of the speaker cards that is on the table near the door. If you are attending on Zoom and would like to address the board during public comment for items not on the agenda or any of our other agendized items, please use the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Once you raise your hand, the executive director will see that someone wants to talk and she will let me know that you are waiting. When it's your turn to speak, the executive director will call your name and unmute you. If you're joining us by telephone, you may also address the board during public comment by pressing *9. And the executive director will address you and unmute you. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Please note that individuals may only speak once per agenda item. You have any?
No.
Okay. Let's begin the meeting. Item number 1, call to order and welcome. I now call the regular meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors of January 7, 2026 to order. Happy New Year. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. President Melissa Natani Jones is not able to attend tonight's meeting in person. Melissa is feeling under the weather with what may be a contagious illness. She has notified us that she will be attending remotely for just cause, and legal counsel Heather Minner has confirmed that President Natani Jones may do so under Brown Act meeting provisions, provided a quorum of the board in person. Given that I see four board members here in person tonight, President Natani Jones may attend remotely. President Natani Jones is required by the Brown Act. Could you please let us know if there is anyone 18 years of age or older in the room with you, and if so, your relationship with that?
There's nobody in the room with me.
Thank you. Please let us know if an adult does joins you in the room later in the evening. Let's see. As President Natani Jones is participating on Zoom, I will be chairing the meeting in person here at the San Bruno Recreation Aquatic Center. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome Larry Franzella to his first meeting as a member of the board. San Bruno City Council appointed Larry to the Foundation Board of Directors last month, and we are excited to have him join us. Larry needs no introduction as he is a longtime San Bruno resident, businessman, and former city council member and mayor. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you.
Great to have you.
We're forward to being here.
Great. We're also thrilled that Supriya, Belinda, and Jessica agreed to continue their service on the board and that the city council appointed them to new terms. Thank you for your continuing dedication to the foundation and San Bruno. All 4 are serving terms that begin on January 1st, 2026 and run through December 31st, 2029. Now it's time for roll call. Secretary Gomez, please call the roll.
Thank you, Jim. Board member Belinda Wong. Board member Supriya Perry.
Present.
Board member Jessica Inglima.
Here.
Board member Larry Franzella. Present. Secretary Raul Gomez is present. Vice President Jim Ruane.
Here.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
Here.
Great. Item
Just,
number 3.
just to check, Melissa, can you hear the different speakers fine?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
All right. Item number 3, public comment. Would any members of the public like to address the board on a topic that is within the jurisdiction of the board but is not on the agenda? For those on Zoom, please indicate so by using the raised hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Leslie?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Thank you. Item number 4, we have a presentation tonight. Recognition of Pat Lynn for her service on the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors. Tonight is a bittersweet moment. While we are thrilled to have Larry join the board, we are sad to say farewell to Pat Lynn, who has so capably served on the board as a president. Pat, thank you for coming to tonight's meeting. Excuse me, so we can properly recognize and thank you for all you've done these past 4 years. In one term, Pat left an indelible mark on the foundation. She stepped up from day one, agreeing to serve as treasurer, chair of the investment committee as soon as she joined the board. While PAC was treasurer, the foundation paid out about $45 million in grant payments for the construction of the rack. And it was so reassuring to know that her watchful eyes was overseeing our investments and making sure that we had the funds to disperse when we needed them. While we certainly will miss PAC and her respective comments at our meetings, we know that she will continue to give back to the community, most notably supporting her two daughters and their activities. It is my pleasure now, on behalf of the board, to recognize you, PAC, with a proclamation from the San Bernardino Community Foundation. We have two items for you. The first is a framed proclamation, which I'll read now. It's right now. Whereas Packlin served on the board of directors of the San Bernardino Community Foundation from January 2022 to December 2025, demonstrating integrity, commitment, and distinction as one of the foundation's leaders. Whereas Packlin provided steady, competent, and invaluable leadership as the foundation's treasurer, utilizing her finance and administrative expertise and experience as a staff member and leader of municipal government in San Bernardino, Colima. Whereas Packlin chaired the investment committee, providing effective and collaborative oversight of and partnership with Sandhill Global Investors, LLC, and critical leadership to the committee as it advised the board and staff on management of the foundation's investment portfolio to wisely allow for growth, ensure sufficient liquidity to meet the organization's programmatic needs, and to make adjustments to the portfolio consistent with the board's recent shifts in strategy. Whereas Packlin served on the ad hoc committee on Crestmore Fields project, which led to foundation investments in a new soccer complex at the site of the former Crestmore High School, provide much needed field space for games and practices for San Bernardino's thriving youth soccer community. Whereas Packlin helped spearhead the foundation's strategic grant-making efforts to support the city's efforts to beautify downtown San Bernardino with planter, greenery, and banner projects, as a member of the ad hoc committee on downtown beautification initiatives. Whereas Packlin served on the ad hoc committee on education initiatives, which, coming out of the pandemic, proposed strategic grant funding for school field trips to enable San Bernardino Park School District students to partake in valuable educational experiences outside the classroom to alleviate the financial burden on the schools and parent-teacher organizations. Whereas PAC in 2023 and 2024, PAC capably represented the board in the San Bernardino City Council's San Bernardino Community Foundation Board appointment interview process, advocating for the appointment of committed and engaged community members to the board. Whereas her colleagues on the board of directors have valued Packlin as a trusted colleague who brought a calm, thoughtful demeanor to the board's deliberations, irreplaceable experience as city government insider to lead the foundation's finance and investment efforts, and a deep commitment to supporting the San Bernardino community. And whereas Packlin's many contributions to the development of the foundation over the past 4 years into the thriving nonprofit dedicated to benefiting the San Bernardino community that it is today will not be forgotten. Now, therefore, on behalf of the San Bernardino Community Foundation Board of Directors, I, Jim Ruane, on behalf of Melissa and Tani Jones, have officially recognized Packlin and express our sincere appreciation for her dedication to the foundation and the San Bernardino community, and wish her the best in all future endeavors. Dated the 17th of January 2026. That's as far as I can go.
Yeah.
And you can see now. The second item is a small gift. Excuse me, I'm gonna get a little bit of water. Small gift and appreciation for you. It's a cutting board, and there's a heart. You know, you can city with a heart over where San Bruno is located on the map. We hope this will remind you of your time with the foundation. Before I turn the floor over to Pat, did any member of the public like to comment?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
How about other board members like to comment?
Hey, for your leadership on the, has some community and bringing me on board and it's just wonderful.
Anyone else?
Thank you so much, Pat, for all the work that you've done. It's been honest.
Thank you.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Jessica?
Thank you, Pat, for your 4 years of dedicated service to our town. You made so welcome to me when I joined last year, getting up to speed quickly. And your financial acumen was, just such an asset. Bless you.
Thank you for what you've done. I hope I can fill your shoes.
Roll.
I'd just like to say thank you for y'all, your service for the last 4 years. It's been amazing getting to know you and watch all of the amazing things that we just heard. And I actually witnessed over the last 4 years. So thank you for everything. Hope that we can touch.
And back as a board member, and a good friend, I really appreciate your serving on this board. You had the inside, not so much the information, but the inside knowledge of what's happening internally with this city because of your experience. And it really helped us make some very, very serious and important decisions for this city. So thank you very much. And
Did Melissa want?
oh, Melissa, I'm sorry. Melissa.
It's okay. I just want to also just to echo what's already been said. I want to appreciate you, Pac. You've been such an amazing colleague in this work. Really enjoyed having the opportunity to get to know you and to also learn from you. And thank you so much for all of the work that you've done as a treasurer, but also just your financial and community centered acumen that you brought to the board. Gonna miss you, but I'm gonna see you around.
Thank you.
Now it's your turn.
Yes, I want to say it's been an honor to be part of this organization. This organization means a lot to me because I was sitting at the San Bruno POC when this happened, and then to see where it went. I was the reason why I even applied for this is because I saw the vision of the community foundation. I was impressed by the strategy and the policies that's in place. And so I'm just honored that I was even able to have a chance to sit there. And if it's not for personal reasons, I will probably, sorry, Larry. Continue. But I, as Emily Roberts has said to me when she tried to convince me to apply, I am spoiled by just how well run, how cohesive, how supportive this board and the members are. And so I just want to say a big thank you. And I can't wait to see how this wind down and how you lead in the next however many years. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Pat. We'd love for you to stay for the rest of the meeting, but feel free if you have some other questions to take care of. Item number 5, approval of the minutes of November 5th, 2025, regular board meeting. Great comments.
Thank you, Jim. So in your meeting packet tonight are meeting minutes from our November 5th, 2025 regular board meeting. Do any board members have any questions?
Any comments from the public? For any minutes?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? If there are no questions or comments, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So
Second.
Roll call.
Thank you, Dennis. Board member Belinda Wong. Board member Supriya Perry.
Hi.
Board member Jessica Inglima.
I
Board member Larry Franzella.
I'm gonna abstain since I was not present.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane.
Aye.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
I
Great, thank you. Our next item is number 6, Executive Director's Report. Leslie?
Sure. Let me turn on my camera here while I'm speaking. Okay. Well, thank you and Happy New Year to everyone. I apologize for the snafus. We're still figuring out how to make everything work here at the RAC for our meetings. I had a full report, executive director's report in the packet, and just want to highlight a couple of things. I too want to welcome Larry formally to the Community Foundation Board and thank Belinda, Jessica, and Supriya for stepping up for another term and staying on board. And also want to thank the City Council for those appointments. And I had the pleasure of doing an orientation with Larry in December. Larry also met with Heather to make sure he was up to speed on all of the recent Brown Act developments and all of the other municipal law concerns that we deal with. So I think we are in good shape moving forward with the full board again. Just also want to let you know that I renewed our accounting consultant's contract, Frank Bittner. He's been with us from the beginning. He has been excellent in working with us. His contract runs from December through November. Other than the change in dates, there were no other changes to the terms of his agreement. Just so you know, he actually has moved to just outside of Las Vegas from the East Bay. It really isn't really an issue because we've done everything remotely and he just mails me the checks. So it takes about a day longer to get the checks now. But otherwise, we pretty much function exactly the same way we have been functioning. Also want to let you know that our tax returns were prepared by Novogradac and submitted before the November 15th deadline. So we were all good with those. And also that in November, I think I sent you all an email about it, but San Mateo County Board of Supervisors recognized Community Foundations Week. Board member Inglima accompanied me to that meeting and she spoke on behalf of our foundation and told them in one brief minute what she could about the highlights of what we've done here. But it was a nice recognition from the county, and I believe 8 different community foundations in our county were participating in that. Let's see. Oh, just also wanted to let you know, so the Alliance of Community Foundations that the Silicon Valley Community Foundation organizes is made up of community foundations from Santa Clara and San Mateo counties, and also San Benito for some historical reason that I don't quite know. But we meet quarterly, usually in person, to share best practices, to network. It's nice to have a sort of cohort of other community foundation board members and executive directors to be able to talk to. We are planning to have the next Alliance meeting, hopefully here at the Rock. They all are interested in seeing our new facility because I keep talking about it at every single meeting. So we're hoping that that will happen here. Silicon Valley Community Foundation will actually help underwrite the costs of renting the building and getting lunch for the group. So hopefully we should not really have to put out any funds for that, and they'll help underwrite that. But it'll be another great opportunity to showcase this building to others in the area. I've been doing actually, anytime I talk to any nonprofit, I let them know that there are opportunities to have their meetings here. And so we are looking forward to that. And that is my report this month.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. Any comments from the public?
There are no hands raised.
Questions or comments from the board? Includes the executive director's report. Thank you. Item number 7, consent calendar. We have one item, receive and approve treasurer's report, October, November 2025 financial statements. We have one item on the consent calendar today as listed in the agenda. Any members of the public like to comment on the consent item?
There are no hands raised.
Board. Okay, if there are questions from the board, I call for a motion to adopt. Thanks, now.
Second.
Earl?
Thanks, Jim. Board member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board member Supriya Harry.
Aye.
Board member Jessica Anglima.
Aye.
Board member Larry Franzella.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane.
Aye.
And President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
Always.
Thank you. Next item is A, receive a report from the ad hoc committee on strategic planning regarding potential legacy projects and provide any board comments on potential next steps. As committee chair, Melissa, are you prepared to make the report?
I am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice President Ruane and Secretary Gomez, for also serving on this committee. As the committee has reported previously, it is focusing on researching and monitoring a small number of potential final legacy projects for the board to consider. The committee met in mid-December and discussed the following potential legacy projects. Fire Station number 52. The board has already expressed its plan to use the bulk of the foundation's remaining total net assets to support the city's plans to replace Fire Station number 52. And in May, the city council agreed to having the foundation serve as a funding partner on this project. The city is in discussions with Caltrans regarding a possible land swap through which the city would obtain its preferred site for the new fire station at the corner of Skyline Boulevard and San Bruno Avenue. The next step in this process is for both parties to declare the sites involved as surplus property and exempt from the Surplus Lands Act, and the city is awaiting the state's California's plans to move forward. The Crestmore Field lighting. When the board approved the $3.4 million strategic grant supporting phase 1 of the Crestmore Fields project in December of 2024, it expressed an interest in possibly also funding the installation of permanent lighting at the fields, once the city obtained more accurate cost estimates. The time has come, and in the next item on the agenda, we will receive an update on the Crestmore Fields project from the city and consider its request for just under $2 million in additional grant funding for the lighting. Legacy project supporting the San Bruno Park School District. In July, the committee met with the San Bruno Park School District Superintendent Matt Duffy and San Bruno Education Foundation President Heather Latta about the district's strategic initiatives and potential opportunities for the foundation to make a large final legacy project investment benefiting the district. The committee has considered the potential legacy project ideas and researched possible paths for funding a program long term. The committee is scheduled to meet with Superintendent Duffy and President Latta later this week to discuss a final legacy project supporting the schools and intends to make a recommendation to the board in the next few months. Based on the board's previous discussions, the committee is currently focusing on these 3 potential legacy projects. We have deferred consideration of restarting the Crestmore Scholarship, which would require identifying another organization to run the program, as well as providing long-term funding for it, until these legacy projects are in place and the foundation has better visibility with respect to the amount of the remaining funds when operations wind down. And that is my report.
Thank you, Melissa. Any comments from the public, Leslie?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
Any questions from the board? If the board would like to provide any additional guidance to the committee, this would be the time to do so. If not, that concludes the committee's report. Item B, received report on the Crestmore Fields project from the city of San Bruno, determine whether the proposed grant modification present a conflict of interest under nonprofit and exempt entity laws, and adopt a resolution increasing strategic grant funding to the city of San Bruno supporting phase 1 of the Crestmore Fields project, specifically for the installation of permanent lighting by an amount not to exceed $1,952,400 and extending the grant period consistent with the updated project timeline. In December 2024, the San Bruno Community Foundation Board approved a strategic grant to the city to support phase 1 of the Crestmore Fields project in an amount of $3,400,000 and requested that the city of San Bruno and the developer include permanent lights at the fields as an ad alternate when preparing the bid documents for the phase 1 construction contract, so that the board could later consider increasing the grant to cover the costs of the permanent lighting based on more accurate cost estimates. The project is proceeding along, and the city finally has the cost information on the lighting that we need to make a decision on additional grant funding. Community Services Director Travis Carlin is here with us tonight to give us an update on the project, as well as to present the city's request for nearly $2 million in additional funding for the permanent lights. Director Carlin, the floor is yours.
Good evening, President and Tom Gibbons, Vice President Julian, and members of the board. I'm Travis Carlin, Community Services Director. It's always good to put a face of the name. For my stuff. So thank you. I'm going to do a quick update just for the stuff, some of the newer board members where we're at with more projects, and then go into the lighting request for the city. Next slide. So our purpose of this presentation is to provide an update to the board regarding the city of San Bruno Crestmore Field, Fields project and the request for the funding for the field lighting. Next slide, please. So I'm providing here just some of the major milestones that were a part of the project. And if you look at the bottom line here, as Jim mentioned earlier, San Bruno Community Foundation did approve a little over half of the funding for the project. In December 2025, we finally came to an agreement with Toll Brothers and approved the agreement with Toll Brothers with the city council. And we're working on executing that contract right now. In December of that same meeting, in December of 2025, we got authorization to come back and approach the San Bruno Community Foundation in line with what the Community Foundation asked us when they approved the initial funding. And here I am tonight presenting to you on the field lighting needs for that sports facility. Next slide, please. So I'm just gonna go over the master plan summary here, and just remember, a master plan is exactly that, it's a plan. It starts out with conceptual design, has public input, which we had a lot of public input on this project, but it basically lays out what the overall plan is for the site. As you go into overall design and construction, many things changed throughout that, and I'm going to highlight some of the things that we had to tweak just a little bit in this first phase as we go into it. But the initial master plan proposed key components, including the striping for 8 overlapping soccer fields, on-site parking, lot and drop-off zone for folks, picnic areas, bleachers, a walking track and seat around the fields, restroom and concession building, and stormwater processing areas. Then you go to the next slide. This is a map of the original master plan that you see up here. And you'll see all those different components where you'll see the picnic tables and the concession facilities up on the left-hand side. See the parking and drop-off areas. There's the walking track that goes along. There's improvements to Portland Drive that are part of this project and the residential development area. So this is just a reminder of what that master plan looked like, and there's a lot of work that we need to do getting into that. When you look at this master plan, this also includes probably about about a 10 to 15% design at this point. Typically speaking, when we do a first review, you can get to about 30% design on a project. Can you go to the next slide? This just lays out the phase 1 funding concept. So the concept was construction of an initial phase by the developer, utilizing a public-private partnership. This is the first time that the city of San Bruno has done a project like this. These are referred to as turnkey parks, where basically the developer builds the parks. We're going to have some input in that for the agreement, but they essentially build the park and then hand the keys over to the city at the end of the project. And then we will oversee the ongoing maintenance of that facility moving forward. The proposed phase 1 includes the essential soccer field components and the infrastructure for that. The estimated cost for phase 1 without the lights is approximately $7 million. With that is estimated cost, the city backed out a contingency for inspections and staff time that's required. We also backed out a contingency for major change orders that the city would like to see. Those are each about $600,000. Future phases could include the other enhancements that you see in the master plan. We'll go into the next slide, please. The proposed construction phases are as follows. So the construction phase number 1, which is about the $7 million, you have the artificial turfs consisting of 8 striped overlapped fields, single stall prefabricated restroom, concrete pad and utility connections so that we can put concession vendors in there in the event of a tournament or other needs, a paved main parking lot with lighting, electrical conduit for future installation of permanent lighting, park security fencing, stormwater retention facility, additional parking lot along Portland Drive with a walking path, and various additional improvements, all soft costs. As we move forward with this project, we'll continue to work with the construction team and the designer to value engineer this to fit that $7 million. There may be room for additional components that you see in column 2, but I did highlight that here tonight. We're really here to talk about the addition of the lights for that for the soccer complex. So we go on to the next one here. So this kind of lays out what proposed phase 1 was. And I'm just going to walk right here for a second along to this. So as you can see here, we have a couple different bio retention areas. One of the things that we've talked about is combining those bioretention areas to make sure that we don't have to take too much room or too much away on the left side of the screen from the fields to mitigate some things that we have to do as far as fencing, slope, all those types of things. These are things that we found out between the master plan and when the 30% design came on. So when we get to this, you're going to see a little bit of a reduction in this area right here to accommodate that, but we're going to be doing a shared bioretention pond here with the HOA. And we'll be having an agreement with the HOA of how that works as far as maintenance and such. So that's one of the bigger changes that you'll see as we move forward with the project. Now, when we got to the point where we got to the agreement with Toll Brothers, we had the project 30% design at that point. So that means at this point, Toll Brothers will need to take that design and continue the design all the way through the 90% in order to build these fields. So if you go to the next slide, I did talk a little bit about the construction phase funding. As I mentioned, the community, we're doing developer impact fee credits on this in the amount of $3.2 million. We have the San Bruno Community Foundation strategic grant for $3 million for $100,000 there. You see a base project total of $6,600,000. I just want to make note that we took the cost to do the Portland improvements out because that was already approved through the city council previous to the meeting that they approved the agreement for the improvements to the fields. The alternate here that I'm here to talk about tonight, the engineer's estimate is about $1.62 million, and we were estimating about $325,000 in contingency funds in case something comes up that we're not aware of. So the total project cost, if we move forward with this plan, is about $8.5 million for the project. Next here. So the city is seeking the additional community foundation funds for the lighting. Right now, other funding sources are not available for this project as it was back when we were looking at the project initially. We have a compressed timeline as well. They're chomping at the bit to get the fields done. They're already wanting to work. They're already moving into the design phase, and the construction will follow that shortly after there. So we have a short time to determine if we're putting the lights in now or if we're just going to be laying conduits so we can do that in the future phase. The other thing to note is that including field lighting during the initial construction of the multi-purpose soccer facility is what is preferred. It's best practices. It's very hard to add lighting to a complex like this after it's built and after there's homes around it. And Sanitas, where I came from, we've been battling this for years and have not had no luck with installing lights over at the original Nolan fields in Sanitas when I was there. So it's definitely the time to add them if we're going to add them now. It will add playability to the fields and just be a better complex for the youth in our community and adults that would like to use it. So if we go on to the next slide here, there's numerous benefits to the community. The youth soccer organizations have heavily relied on these fields for for many years. They already will be impacted because, as you can see from the master plan, the fields that they used to have are actually shrinking by half. So we're already shrinking their fields down. But as I'm adding the lights, it will add playability to the fields into the evenings. A brand new athletic field facility with lights versus unlighted fields will increase playability, as I mentioned, and will increase revenue back to the city. So if you go to the next slide, the project timeline that I laid out is a little bit more extensive than what we talked about in a prior presentation to this board. Tonight we're here to talk about the consideration of the lights. The design plan review, I'm told, is going to take place January through July of 2026. The city, if you've read the improvement agreement, the city has opportunities to weigh in on that process. The bidding period will be between July and August of 2026, with construction starting in early fall. The expected completion is late 2027. They're telling us about 16 to 18 months on this project. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any other questions, Leslie?
There are no hands raised online.
Questions for the board? So great.
I think.
I'm sorry, I just missed something in consideration of this. So Toll Brothers is building around the area or plans to build housing.
They're building the housing development right there.
And there's existing residential properties around the area currently.
Currently not on the overall site that Toll Brothers is working on.
There's no issue with those residents in terms of lights at present.
Yeah,
I can understand why later on, it's like very.
I don't know the answer to that right off the top of my head. I don't believe that there's.
The surrounding residential is all.
It's kind of, yeah.
So like, the fields are not gonna impact.
The other thing, Board Member Perry, that I would, let you know about is we actually just did a lighting upgrade to City Park. I wish they were on right now so you could see them. When you actually see this new lighting, technology, when you're walking up to the park, it is black. And it's like you step into the light and it's completely different. It doesn't have the spillover into residential neighborhoods like the old lights do have. So it'll have minimal to no impact to the housing side.
And then what is solar, so the 1.6, I mean, is there any solar like? How are the lights going to be maintained, you know, in the future, and is there consideration for technology that allows it to be solar powered, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know very little about lighting, but, you know, and I can understand why the infrastructure should go in. As a cost saving while it's being developed, but in terms of future maintenance and how that impacts the city and city costs. I'm just curious.
Sure. As you know, our council is always asking about solar opportunities. Right now, the technology is not there yet for field lighting. They have great technology for street lights, and they also have good technology for path lights, but they don't quite have it yet for field lights. One thing that's great about the system that would go in here is, because we just upgraded City Park, it's all automated now. I can actually go to my cell phone and I can turn these lights on if I have access to it. This thing will ring true for the park up there. So let's say that a group does leave the light on. They call and they say, hey, the lights are still on, and press them, we can push them on. From our phones, nobody has to go on there, nobody has to get there to do it. So that definitely helps. They're also much more energy efficient than the old lights that we were used to here in City Park.
It's very, yeah, it seems like a great thing to do, given that, you know, it's dark so early, especially for at least a third of the year, so thank you.
Any other board members? Open for comment? And seeing none, before the board is a resolution increasing strategic grant funding to the city of San Bruno, supporting phase 1 of the Crestpoint Fields project, specifically for the installation of permanent lighting that's not to exceed $1,952,400, and extending the grant period consistent with the updated project timeline. But before we get to the resolution, the board needs to address the disclosure of financial interest by the executive director. As mentioned in the board meeting packet, the board must determine whether the proposed modifications of the grant to the city of San Bruno represent a conflict of interest under nonprofit and exempt entity laws in accordance with the foundation's conflict of interest policy. Heather, would you provide some background for this?
Sure. The foundation has a conflicts of interest policy to make sure that it's fully transparent when it's making grant funding decisions about potential conflicts of interest and when people have a financial interest in an entity that the foundation is considering making a grant to. Just because there is a financial interest doesn't mean there's a conflict of interest. We just want to be transparent. And so Executive Director Hadamiya has complied with that policy by informing the board that her son previously had an internship with the city of San Bruno and now has a full-time position with the Community Development Department, which is great for the community and for her family. I'm always so happy to hear about young people going into public service. So this is a good thing, but it does require us to consider whether this might pose a conflict of interest. And pursuant to the foundation's policies, I've considered whether it poses a conflict of interest under public agency laws, such as the Political Reform Act and Government Code 1090. And it advised the president, Natani Jones, that it does not. And then the next step is for the board to determine whether there's a potential conflict of interest under nonprofit and exempt and tax exempt entity laws. The foundation does have a nonprofit legal counsel who has provided a summary of the nonprofit and tax exempt entity laws and analyzed whether grants to the city would pose a conflict of interest under prior grants that were made while the exec director's son was there, and determined it did not. But right now, I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask Executive Director Hadamiya if you have any more questions for her about the potential financial interest, and then she will leave the room and we can have a discussion and make a determination while she's not here. But I wanted to see if you all had any questions for her. Okay. Thank you. And so, as I mentioned, I'm advising that the facts have not changed. The city has confirmed that Executive Director Hadamiya's son has not been involved in the Crestmore Fields project at all, or in the grant proposal for the lighting. And the city has numerous times confirmed that they do not make personnel decisions regarding his employment related to whether or not the foundation is making grants to the city. And the foundation also has a provision in the existing Crestmore Fields grant with the city that says that none of the money the foundation provides can be used to financially benefit any interested person, which includes her son. And so the foundation, so the executive director's son will not receive any financial benefit from this decision. And I think the foundation therefore can be confident that it is not providing any financial benefit to an interested person through this grant. But that is a decision for you all to make. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the public? Can you see any?
Is there any questions from the public? I do not see any hands raised.
Questions from the board?
No.
Okay, the board has heard facts and legal analysis from the foundation's lawyer, concluding that the proposed grant modifications do not constitute a conflict of interest. May I have a motion determining that the proposed modifications of the strategic grant to the city of San Bruno supporting phase 1 of the Crestmore Fields project do not present a conflict of interest under nonprofit and exempt entity laws in accordance with the foundation's conflict of interest policy?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll.
Board Member Belinda Wong. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Anglima.
Aye.
Board Member Larry Franzella.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Roy.
Aye.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you. I'll bring the executive director back.
Okay. Now I might have a motion to adopt the resolution increasing strategic grant funding to the city of St. Louis for phase 1 of the Crestmore Fields project, specifically for the installation of permanent lighting, not to exceed $1,952,400, and extending the grant period consistent with the updated project timeline.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion second. Roll.
Board Member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Anglima.
Aye.
Board Member Larry Franzella.
Aye.
Raul Gomez is, or sorry, Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Roy.
Aye.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you, Scott. Great. Item C, receive report on the downtown beautification initiative of the city of San Bruno. March 2024, the board approved a $350,000 grant to the city of San Bruno to support a series of projects to improve the visibility and appearance of San Bruno's downtown, with planter revitalization along San Mateo Avenue, the potential planting of trees on Geneva Avenue, median landscape revitalization, and the creation of new street pole banners. This grant is structured so that the city will submit one grant report when all projects are completed, after which the foundation will disperse a single grant payment of up to $350,000. As a result, the foundation has not yet made any grant payments on this grant. Due to the updated project schedule, the grant period for the grant has been extended through May 2026. I'd like to invite Travis again back to the podium to give us an update on the downtown beautification projects. Now that we are in the home stretch, that's
Sure. again, we do a little bit of context on how we got here. When I came on to be the community services director in September of 2023, I did a very extensive tour of the city with the city manager. And we talked about some of the issues and some of the things that he wanted to see cleaned up in the city. And one of them was the pots downtown. As you probably remember, there was a lot of individuals were taking care of those pots. One of the volunteers, Nancy Foreman, a fantastic lady, if you don't know her, yes, you know her, she's great. She was doing a lot of the work down there in the downtown, keeping the pots somewhat vibrant. What I found out very quickly is that she couldn't keep up with the plants because watering the plants is a big job. What we found when we were starting to do investigating down there is that we had 6 breaks in an 8-section underground irrigation system. And we didn't know where all those breaks were, and so it's going to take a lot of complex hunting and finding and fix. And so we brought forward an idea to the San Bruno Community Foundation to put money toward a project that would allow us to design and tear up some of the streets, or some of the streets and some of the sidewalks to find these breaks and do the appropriate repairs, so that when we did do a landscape plan that had some continuity down Avenue, that it would survive and thrive. So that was the biggest key, is to fix those. We also had pots that had soil in them from the beginning of when they were implemented downtown. They were hard, rock hard, almost like concrete. And as you know, plants just don't grow in that environment. So we had to completely change out all the planters and redo the planters downtown. We also asked the San Bruno Community Foundation to consider funding for a new banner program. Before, we had a lot of different banners that were mismatched and went down the avenue, didn't really have any continuity. And we actually got funding from San Bruno Community Foundation to create 3 independent banner collections to put up at various times of the year. And they've been noticed. A lot of people comment on them. They love the new look and colorful display down there, so that's great. The other part of the project that has been placed on hold was the replacement of the marquee sign. So after we started work on the marquee sign, we ran into a lot of different issues with that. We also found the transportation corridor plan that doesn't support that marquee being where it's at. So we did put that on hold right now. The one thing I do want to mention about the marquee is that staff are actively looking at all monuments in town that are like entry monuments, or say something about San Bruno. And that is one that we're going to be studying as well, to talk with the council about what we should be moving forward with that. So that isn't something that just got thrown to the wayside. It is being discussed right now. But as far as this project is concerned, it has been tabled right now. We started the construction of this project last fall, actually a little after summer, I believe it was. And we knew this was going to be a very hard project to do. As we were going through the project, just hunting and finding the leaks has been a big chore. And if you witness them taking the old material out of pots, some of them took days and a couple of them took a week or 2. So just getting all that material out and getting it replanted. We worked with the downtown business community to identify blind spots, areas that they maybe wanted to see a tree instead of a plant. And I think that we came up with a good plan that's a little bit more cohesive and will last a while in the downtown area. So as you see, we have all the plants, all the trees in right now. The one thing that we are monitoring is that the crepe myrtles are a little bit smaller than we anticipated. They're very immature. We're going to monitor those through the spring, and one of the things that we're going to look at is, if they haven't quite taken yet, is repotting them and makeshifting our own little nursery for them to use either elsewhere or use as replacement trees, and then perhaps getting a more mature tree or a tree fund to put in those pots. So we're going to monitor it and see how they do as we lead in. Everything's planted, all the irrigation has been fixed, the bubblers have been added. What you're going to see now is that tomorrow morning we're going to be testing of the entire avenue. So we're going to go from one end to the other, test all the bubblers, make sure that we don't find any other leaks. We're confident that we got all of them, but I'm not going to say yes, we got them all until we get all the way through that. We're also anticipating that we are going to have breaks along the way, because It is an old system and we weren't able to replace everything. So we did allocate some money in a special fund in the city manager's office that we can use if we should have an emergency break, so we can get somebody out right away and we don't have to question where we're gonna get the money from. And we'll continue to allocate that money next, or ask for that allocation next year in the event that we have a break. So we don't get into a situation where we have that on the avenue. So we'll be monitoring that part. This project was in conjunction with Posey Park. So we did some improvements there. You saw that the landscape got redone, the medians up in that area and on the other end got redone. And then additionally, we're gonna be finishing out the rehabilitation of the fountain. So by March, the fountain will be fully functional again. And then the last thing I want to mention, along with the downtown beautification project, is we just finished the public survey on a sculpture that will go into Posey Park. And that closed, and that item will be coming to the commission, our Culture and Arts Commission, at their next meeting this month. And then a recommendation we brought to council to add a sculpture by the tree in that park. So that'll round out our work on the downtown beautification as it's been approved so far. And you know, we're always looking at other ways that we can improve the downtown and work with the business community, but that's basically my update for roll it out. So we should have that project closed out in the next couple months.
That's great. Thank you. Any questions from the public?
There are no hands raised.
Anything from the board?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Travis. I was curious, just on the cost of all of this. So you're on track to spend the full 350,000.
Yeah,
At the March timeframe we're talking about.
Yes, thank you for the question. We actually have to go back to the council and ask for additional funding on this. The total project is a little over $600,000. So, and that includes project management, design, and the work. We talked about doing a design build with our own staff, but it proved very quickly that it's more complex than what we expected. So we did have to bring in Calendar and Associates to do some design work.
Seems like the feedback's been positive on social media.
Any further comments from the board? That concludes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I do have one question. Thank you for your report again. I have a question about trees that are going to be planted or have already been planted. Actually, I had noticed that on Genevieve, right next to Bank of America, there have been 2 trees that have been installed. Do you know the projected height of those trees? I'm glad you asked that question. They do get to be about 12 feet, and the one right in front of the other tree, we're actually removing that. It was planted incorrectly, so they're going to be removing that one so it doesn't grow into the tree in front of the Bank of America. Okay. Yeah. And for the planters, you're marking trees for those as well? Sure. So if you see the downtown, some of the planters do have trees in them. They're either crepe myrtles or they are magnolias. And then the other ones just have plant material where there would be issues with. And the projected height from those trees, they're approximately 8 to 12 feet. Okay. Thank you. And we'll be trimming them up as they grow so that they help you. Got it. Thank you.
Anything else for Travis? Travis, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Item D, receive report on other programs. Leslie.
Great. Just 2 brief items on other programs. On the strategic grant front, as you recall, we awarded 2 sister grants to the city of San Bruno and the San Bruno Education Foundation in support of the San Bruno Narita Sister City program. The grant to the San Bruno Education Foundation provided funding both for helping host the Narita delegation and sending a student delegation every summer. It also had funds for sustainability so that the groups could come together and actually work on some fundraising endeavors because there is no longer a separate entity, separate nonprofit in town helping them to develop a sustainable fundraising and sponsorship program so that when our grant funding sunsets, they have something to take off and to continue to fund the program. As previously reported, the Education Foundation, the school district, and the city are working to create the first alumni event. They're hoping to make it an annual dinner that they can bring together folks, families, and students who participated in the program in past years and use that as their main fundraising vehicle. They originally thought it was going to be the end of January. They're now thinking it's actually going to be in March to be closer to when the Narita delegation actually comes. Because of the pushed out time frame, they were given in their first tranche of money, $10,000 to spend on sustainability in the first year, which was 2025. But because the event is now sort of towards the end of Q1 26, they asked, could they have extra time to spend those funds because really all the event costs are going to happen in 2026. So what we've done is we've basically just moved the sustainability funds, which were supposed to be in years 1 and 2, and now punted them to years 2 and 3. So we just executed an amendment to the grant agreement in doing that. So everything is basically the same, it's just the timing of the sustainability funds got pushed out by a year. And so that has been executed and we're moving forward with that. Also just wanted to let you know, the Community Grants Fund, as you know, we did not launch a new cycle, but the last cycle, which was the 24-25 cycle, was completed at the end of December. So all of those grant funds were to be spent in calendar year 2025. I've been in contact with the different grantees and their final grant reports are due by the beginning of March. So I'm starting to collect those. And with that, we will basically close out the Community Grants Fund in its entirety.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
The public,
No hands are raised from the public.
questions, the board, comment?
Mhm.
Lester, any further comments from the board? That concludes the report on other programs. Thank you again, Leslie. Item E, elect 2026 treasurer, adopt resolution ratifying election of 2026 officers, adopt resolution designating signatories on San Bernardino Community Foundation Wells Fargo bank accounts, and adopt resolution designating signatories on San Bernardino Community Foundation Fidelity investment brokerage accounts. The foundation's bylaws call for an annual election of president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, whose terms start on January 1. In 2016, the board adopted principles and process which govern the foundation's election of officers. Under this process, officer elections are held no later than the board's regular November meeting. On November 5th, the board elected the following officers for 2026: Melissa Natani Jones, president, Jim Willing, vice president, and Raul Gomez, secretary. At that time, the city council had not yet reappointed Supriya, Belinda, and Jessica, or appointed Larry. Now that those 4 new board members have been appointed, we are going to hold the election for treasurer. This is particularly important to ensure that the treasurer, who is a signatory on the foundation's bank and investment accounts, is in place to facilitate the smooth continuation of the foundation's finance and investment functions. Is there any discussion before I call for nominations? All right. Any comments from the public on the election of treasurer?
There are no hands raised.
Any comments or additional discussion from the board? I will now call for nomination for treasurer.
Through the chair, I'd like to nominate Belinda Wong as treasurer.
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay, Raul, would you call for vote?
So, board member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board member Jessica Anglima.
Aye.
Board member Larry Franzella.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane.
Aye.
President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Great, congratulations, and thank you. Thank you. The treasurer for 2026 is. Congratulations. The board will now consider the attached resolution ratifying the election of the 2026 officers, including president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. Request that we amend the prepared resolution included in the meeting packet to insert Belinda Wong as the elected treasurer. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution ratifying the election of 2026 officers as amended?
So, second.
Motion second. Roll.
Board member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board member Jessica Anglima.
Aye.
Board member Larry Franzella.
Yes.
Aye. Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane.
Aye.
And President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Great. Per the bylaws, the San Bruno City Council will consider approving our slate of elected officers at its meeting next Tuesday, January 13th. With the election of a new treasurer, we now need to consider two more administrative resolutions designating our president, treasurer, and executive director as signatories on our Wells Fargo bank accounts and Fidelity brokerage accounts. The foundation's bylaws require and authorize the board to designate individuals to execute, sign, and or initiate checks, including electronic funds, transactions used in lieu of checks. The foundation's fiscal policies and procedures state that the president, treasurer, and executive director authorize signatories of all bank and investment accounts. The foundation has two accounts at Wells Fargo, a checking account with a payroll account and a payroll account. The next resolution before the board would designate, effective January 7, 2026, President Tani Jones, the elected treasurer, and executive director Leslie Altamia as the authorized signatories on the foundation's two Wells Fargo accounts. As part of the foundation's internal financial controls, this resolution also sets forth the requirements for signing checks or authorizing other transfer of funds. I request that we amend the resolution to insert Belinda Wong as the elected treasurer. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution designating signatories on the foundation's Wells Fargo bank accounts as amended?
Second.
Motion second, Raul.
Board Member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Anglima.
Aye.
Board Member Larry Franzella.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane. Aye. President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you. Now, the final resolution under this item, the foundation currently maintains two brokerage accounts, Strategic Pool and Liquidity Pool at Fidelity Investments. The attached resolution designates effective January 7, 2026, President Tani Jones, the elected treasurer, and executive director Leslie Altamia as the authorized signatories of the foundation's Fidelity brokerage accounts. As part of the foundation's internal financial controls, this resolution also sets forth the requirements for authorizing transfers of funds. I request that we amend the resolution to insert Belinda Wong as the elected treasurer. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution designating signatories on foundation's Fidelity Investments brokerage accounts as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Oh,
Board Member Belinda Wong. Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Anglima.
Aye.
Board Member Larry Franzella.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane.
aye.
And President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
Great, thank you. We're doing that. Item F, adopt a resolution approving appointment to the investment committee. The foundation bylaws empowers the board to create advisory committees that may contain any number of director and non-director committee members. In June 2016, the board created the investment committee as an advisory body charged with providing guidance to the board in all aspects of investment management process, as outlined in the charter of the investment committee. The committee charter states that the committee shall consist of the board treasurer who serves in an ex officio capacity as chair, along with one other director member and three non-director members whose experience in finance and investment management may assist the committee and the board in the performance of their investment oversight responsibilities. The four committee members, other than the treasurer, are appointed by the board. In addition to the then treasurer Packlin serving as chair as a function of her role as treasurer, the board appointed board member Belinda Wong, Anthony Clifford, Mark Hayes, and Tim Ross to two-year terms on the investment committee commencing July 1st, 2024, including on June 30th, 2026. Now that Belinda has been elected treasurer, she will serve as the investment committee chair in an ex officio capacity. At the same time, she vacates her seat on the committee as the second director member, and therefore the board needs to appoint another board member to serve the remainder of the two-year seat she previously filled. The resolution before the board affirms Belinda's service as chair of the investment committee as part of her role as treasurer, as well as appoints incoming board member Larry Franzella to fill the director vacancy created by Belinda's election as treasurer. and his term would end on June 30th, 2026. Thank you, Larry, for your willingness to serve in the investment committee. I request that we amend the resolution to insert Belinda Wong as the elected treasurer. Any comments from the public, Leslie?
There are no hands raised.
Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion to adopt the resolution approving an appointment to the investment committee as amended?
No.
There's a motion and second, Raul.
Thank you, Jim. Board Member Belinda Wong. Board Member Supriya Perry. Board Member Jessica Lima.
Aye.
Board Member Larry Franzella. Aye. Secretary Raul Gomez. Aye. Vice President Jim Ruane.
Aye.
And President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
Item G, we receive a report from the Investment Committee on the November 19, 2025 special meeting. As a member of the Investment Committee, now its chair, Linda Wong, will provide the report.
Thank you. The investment committee had its most recent quarterly meeting on November 19th. This was the final meeting for our former treasurer, Lynn. I'm gonna have really huge shoes to fill as the new chair, but I'm very excited for the opportunity, and we also welcome and look forward to having board member Franzella join us. The November meeting was relatively short and direct. There were two business items on the agenda. The first was a report from the Sandhill Global Advisors regarding the firm's investment outlook and the foundation investment portfolio performance. The senior portfolio manager, Megan Data, gave an overview of the firm's investment outlook, noting that despite elevated economic uncertainties, overall economic activity and corporate earnings have been resilient, with corporate investments in AI a main driver for the GDP growth. She noted that the effective tariff rates have been far lower than the statutory tariff rates, with modest impact on economic growth. As of September 30th, 2025, the foundation's two investment accounts have the following balances. It's a little over 29.63 million for the strategic pool and over 2.4 million for the liquidity pool for a total of $32,050,149 in both accounts. Note that after the board decided to transfer all funds from the quasi-endowment to the strategic pool last June, the balance of the quasi-endowment is zero and the account has now been closed, which is how we only have the two other accounts. In reviewing the portfolio balance update, the Sandhill team also noted that the total withdrawals for the portfolio since inception has been $62.1 million to support a very long list of community benefits, including this RAC, as well as $24.5 million in total value added since inception. The second item of the agenda item of the investment committee was the foundation's cash flow strategies related to the funding of any final legacy project grants. This is an item that we have on the agenda until all funds have been covered. All funds needed to cover the final legacy projects are transferred from the strategic pool to the liquidity pool. Since the board has not yet formally awarded any grants to support our final legacy projects, in November, the committee did not consider any guidance related to the movement and have kept the separation as I noted before. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, February 18th, 2020.
Great, thank you, Melissa. Any questions from the public?
There are no hands raised.
Thank you. Number 9, board member comments. Any board members, would you like to make a comment?
I'd like to make a comment through the chair.
Melissa.
I just want to welcome Larry to the board and want to also just appreciate and congratulate Jessica, Belinda, and Supriya for their desire to continue to serve on the board. I look forward to another great year and hoping all of you had a great holiday and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you.
Hope you feel better.
Yeah, hope you're feeling better. Okay, any other comments from the board? Let's bring us to number 10, which is adjournment. They have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Okay. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.